Hey guys, it's Blacksmith92 here, and if you saw my previous video, you saw that in my survival world I do have an overclocker factory, and I really do enjoy making the overclocker factory because it is a little different than other factories, and I'll explain why it's a bit different later. But anyways, I decided to build one in creative mode that makes them really fast, and by really fast I mean one every 1.2 seconds approximately. Probably closer to one every 1.5 seconds because this won't be always, it won't produce one on every single redstone output. But I'm just going to go through a quick overview of what you have to do to build an overclocker factory. Now, in order to build a factory in general, you have to understand a couple things. I use filters. I'm pretty sure you can use retrievers and a couple other items, but I just use filters because that's what I first figured out that works, and I've just stuck with it. So I just use filters for my needs. So let's start over here. And everything to the left of this fiber cable line, so on this side, this is all just to make the circuits. Because for an overclocker, you need 3 coolant cells, 2 copper cables, and 1 electronic circuit. So we'll start with the electronic circuit. Now, the first thing you have to do is you need rubber to make a copper cable. Because to make an electric circuit, you need copper cable, refined iron, redstone, and then more copper cable. So you need copper cable. That's where we're going to start. So here, this makes the sticky resin. The redstone pulses make the filter output the sticky resin into a centrifuge extractor. I use a centrifuge extractor because a regular extractor was too slow. And then the redstone pulse will send it from the centrifuge extractor into here. And then over here we have the copper. The copper gets sent into this crafting bench. And I forgot to mention, this is an automated crafting bench if you don't know. And these are just used to automatically craft items. And you pull them out with a filter from the top only. And you use this little interface here to tell the crafting bench what you want it to craft with every output. So in this case, we're making copper cable, which is happening really quickly, which is why you see it constantly appearing then disappearing. And the copper cable gets output, sent over here. And you can build these pneumatic pipes right next to other input items like this filter, but you do need to have it blocked off with, you have to have it blocked off with something. In this case, I use wooden plank covers. Otherwise, it just ends up getting sucked back in. So yeah, wooden plank covers help a lot in Tekkit, at least for these pneumatic pipes. There are other ways of doing it. I think if you use a paintbrush, you can make pneumatic tubes different colors, but I just like using the wooden planks just because it's simple, I know how to do it, and it works well. So anyways, we come over here, and for the circuits, like I said before, refined iron, redstone, copper cable. So over here we have redstone, and on every redstone pulse, the redstone is sent out from this condenser, into here. And so you don't have to do anything with the redstone. It just gets sent into there. Over here, the iron is being made in here, and it has to be sent out to be refined, because refined iron has no EMC value, so you can't make it right away. So the iron gets sent out, comes in here to the electric furnace, and then it's put through into here. You have refined iron, redstone, copper cable coming in, and you have circuits coming out. Every overclocker needs 1 circuit, 2 copper cables, and 3 coolant cells. Oops, no! Okay. Actually, that wouldn't have really made a difference because one thing about pneumatic pipes is they will send the item through it to the nearest valid destination. So it could send it to the filter, but the nearest valid destination is this automated crafting bench. If this automated crafting bench were full, it would then go up and into the filter. That's going to be important for this step over here. So over here is where the copper cable is made for the overclockers. Not the copper cable for the circuits, that's over here. For the overclockers, this is where the copper gets made, gets sent into here to be processed into the copper cables. And now we're going to go over to where the rubber is made for the copper cables. Now this is the part where I said it's important to know about these valid destinations. Now this is the first valid destination for the sticky resin. It's the closest to where the sticky resin is actually being pulled from. Now this is a full destination. So any sticky resin that tries to come in is going to be sent back because it can't go in there. But instead of being sent back through the pipes, it's going to be sent backwards and forwards to try and find another valid destination. In this case, this is another valid destination. So only when this destination is full will sticky resin be able to move forward and go into here. If I weren't producing a lot of sticky resin, so if I did not have this collector and I just had like a MK1 collector here, then the sticky resin would only end up going into here and none would ever make it over here because the nearest destination would always be available for it. So if you want to piggyback, you can. You just have to make sure you have an excess of items flowing through the tube so it'll go on to the next destination. So anyways, gets processed into rubber, the copper is sent into here, copper cable comes out, and it is sent into here. I'll probably end up piggybacking the system later. Just to actually know it, I'm going to piggyback the system now because we don't have enough copper cable here. So if I can just go like that, the excess copper cable will be sent through here because this valid destination, even though it comes first in the line, is constantly full. So excess is going to be sent over there, and that's going to help with the backlog with the electronic circuits. Oops, sorry, hold on a second, I'm just going to make it daytime. When you start piggybacking like this, you can create additional problems for yourself just because you get confused on where items are going. So just be careful about that. And just make sure that the primary place you want them to go first is the nearest valid destination. Which in this case it is, so that's not going to be a problem at all. So we have the circuits covered, we have the copper cables covered. Now to my favorite part of the overclocker factory, and I think it's also the sexiest part of the overclocker factory personally. Just got the nice, clean, factory, repeated machinery setup over here. And this is where the water cells are actually made. Now, one thing about water cells, oh, I have some in my inventory already. Water cells, they do not have an EMC value. So if you try to just straight up make water cells, it will be a failed attempt. If you try and trade water cells for their EMC value, it will not work. They don't have an EMC value. You can't do it. So in order to make an overclocker factory, you have to build an assembly line dedicated just to making the water cells, just so you can send them into the extractors to make the coolant cells. So what you want to start off with is tin, because you need the tin to be sent from the condenser into an automated crafting bench, and sent into here so you can actually make the empty cells. And right now we don't have any issue of tin. We have plenty of tin. And so the empty water cells will be sent into these crafting benches to make water cells. Now I'm going to show you guys the my favorite part of the overclocker factory. This is the one part that is a lot different than other factories in the sense that these automated crafting benches actually have two outputs. Now the top of an automated crafting bench will be just for what is actually crafted. The bottom of an automated crafting bench is usually reserved for input. In this and when you have an input, it'll put it in the bottom slot. But in this case, when we make a actual water cell, you need a water bucket and an empty cell. But the bucket isn't used. Instead, when it occurs, I'll show you. With this one. Actually, yeah, I'll use this one. When you actually make a water cell, a bucket is put into the bottom slot. And you can't see it occurring in here because every time a water bucket is put in here, it's used right away and turned into a bucket, so it looks like nothing's happening. But if I were to break this line, you'll see the bucket starting to pile up because a water bucket comes in, it's used, and the used bucket is sent to that bottom slot. Now instead of just wasting all that EMC, because it will just sit there and it will go unused, and you'll still get water cells out of it, what you can do is you can set up a recycling system. So those buckets will get pumped out and they'll get sent back into here to be recycled. Because the difference between a water bucket and a bucket is a bucket has 768 EMC, a water bucket has 769 EMC. So in order to make this system work, you do have to have some EMC input, but not a lot, which is why I use MK1 collectors here. And this actually produces more than enough EMC for my needs. So you actually could get away with less than one MK1 collector, which is why I don't have them at the ends, because you actually don't need them. This actually produces an excess amount of EMC for what we need. Because the difference, like I said, is one EMC. Because every bucket gets recycled. And so that's your water cell factory. And you can build as many of these as you want. You can have, I only have 5, but they're working every 2 seconds. I can make them work faster, or I can just make more if I need more. In this case, I just built 5 because I really don't want to make it much bigger, because then I'd have to have this system move a whole lot faster, which I don't want. I just wanted to make this fairly simple, but at the same time still a fast machine. Now for the extractors. Now for these extractors, every time you send a water cell in, only one coolant cell can be made. And that's like a no-duh thing. One water cell, one coolant cell. But the problem with the extractor is, once the coolant cell is made, coolant cells do not stack. So it will sit there and not do anything. The extractor won't produce another coolant cell until the coolant cell is removed from the system. So you have to have these constantly being pumped out. Otherwise you're just wasting time, as the extractor doesn't do anything while it's waiting for the coolant cell to be pulled out. So it's important to have these constantly ejecting the coolant cells, or have it timed perfectly so as soon as the set finishes, it's pumped out. In this case, to make the overclockers as fast as the coolant cells are coming in, I had to set the timer to 1.2 seconds. So yeah, I don't really want to push it any faster than that. On a server it probably would be a bit too fast, just because I have been on other servers and yeah, they really don't want you pushing it past like 2 seconds, I think. Just because when a lot of people do it, it can create a lot of lag for the server. But on a single player, it's not a problem at all. So if you are on a multiplayer server, just scale it bigger, maybe make 2 of these sets, and then that'll make you more overclockers. But anyways, you don't need the overclockers in the machines, but they do make it work a lot faster. So you can't just set up the whole machine and then just slowly get your overclockers in, and then start filling up your machines with the overclockers you produced. And you also do not need these transformer upgrades. You can run it all on low voltage. It's no fun running it on low voltage though, because then when you try and put more overclockers in, it's just not enough. So my advice, use transformer upgrades and just use like HV, or MV would probably be fine too. But I like using HV. And so this system uses LV solars with bat boxes just to make low voltage power. And this HV makes high voltage, and it just pumps into this MFSU. I believe it is 64 low voltage solar arrays equals one of these. So all of this equals about not even half of one of these. So yeah, this is my overclocker factory. Oh, and then, sorry, one more thing. For all these filters, I just use red alloy wire, and basically as few timers as possible. I want these on a different time set than those, so I do use 2 timers. You can get away with just 1 timer if you're lazy and don't want to build timers, which I don't blame you, they're a pain in the butt to make. But if you're in creative mode, why not have 2 timers? But it does, I believe, reduce lag if you use less timers, so it is nice just using the 2 timers that I have. And then just have the red alloy wire just run over all the filters. And then when I want to get up on top of these filters, I just use the panels just to make essentially a block around these pipes so that it can go on top of the pipes. And then, yeah, just make sure all your filters are attached to the red alloy wire, and then every pulse will make the filters pull it out of the nearest oh, I don't even know what it's called. Basically, the filter has to be facing the right way, and whichever side the yellow line is closest to, that's where it'll pull it out of. And then it'll output on the side where you see the red every time it pulses. So you can see the red there. That side will always be the output side. That's where it'll pull it out and send it off. And so yeah, this is my overclocker factory. I'm not going to show you guys how to actually assemble it. If you want to see me assembling an overclocker factory, I can do that, but I'm not going to do it on my own. And by on my own, I mean I'm not just going to do it of my own will. If you leave comments saying, hey, I want you to build an overclocker factory and show us how to do it, I will do it. It will take time though. It'll probably be broken up into 3 parts if I did do it. So if you want to see me actually assemble an overclocker factory, I will do it. But don't get upset with me if it turns out to be like 3 or 4 parts, because it takes a while to set up. So yeah, this is my overclocker factory. If you have any questions how to make it, leave a comment for me and I will answer it. And yeah. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video, and leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and peace out.